In the shade of a grand sal tree, the Buddha sat cross-legged, radiating serenity. Around him, disciples gathered reverently, their robes rustling. The scent of blooming jasmine filled the air. Mingling with soft whispers of the morning breeze, the Buddha began. His voice steady. Monks, the mind is like still water, reflecting truth when undisturbed. He raised a clay bowl, its surface calm and clear. His eyes, deep and knowing, met those of his disciples. Look, he said, stirring the water gently with a twig. Ripples distorted the reflection, breaking the serene surface into chaos. This, he continued, is how anger, fear, and desire disturb our minds, clouding our perception of reality. The disciples watched intently, their breaths synchronized in the quietude of the grove. Through mindfulness, the Buddha said, the water settles again. Only then can truth, undistorted, emerge like a lotus rising from mud. Ananda, seated close, asked, Master, how do we practice mindfulness in a world brimming with distractions and desires? The Buddha smiled, his expression an oasis of patience. Start by anchoring yourself in the present, he advised. Through the breath, the most immediate reality, he gestured to the still water in the bowl, now undisturbed. Each breath, he continued, is a ripple, a cycle. Observe it without attachment, and the mind learns to remain unshaken. A young monk, newly ordained, hesitated before speaking. Master, why does the mind resist this stillness? He inquired, his voice tremulous. The Buddha's gaze softened. Because, he explained, the mind clings to what is impermanent, fearing emptiness, which it does not understand. He pointed to the towering sal tree under which they sat. See this tree? Its roots are deep, yet it will someday fall. His words settled over the disciples, heavy yet enlightening. Impermanence is the nature of all things, he continued, and meditation reveals this truth. The disciples nodded, absorbing his wisdom like parched earth drinking rain. A farmer from a nearby village, drawn by curiosity, approached cautiously. Lord Buddha, he said, bowing deeply, I toil under the sun, my mind burdened with worries. How can I find peace? The Buddha turned toward him, his smile inviting. Even in toil, he said, there is mindfulness. Focus on each action, each sensation. The farmer's eyes widened as he absorbed the Buddha's words. When planting seeds, the Buddha added, feel the soil, hear the wind, and know that you are one with the earth. The grove fell silent, as though nature itself was attuned to the Buddha's teachings. Monks, he resumed, addressing his disciples, aging is like the cycles of the seasons. Each brings its own lessons and gifts. He gestured toward an elder monk, whose face bore the lines of many years. With age, he said, comes the wisdom to see beyond illusions, to embrace simplicity. The elder monk bowed his head, his eyes moist with gratitude. Through meditation, the Buddha continued, we cultivate equanimity, the ability to remain unshaken by life's inevitable changes. He closed his eyes momentarily, as if embracing the universe in silence. This equanimity, he said, opening his eyes, is the highest form of freedom. A sparrow alighted on a nearby branch, chirping softly, as if affirming the Buddha's words. Even the sparrow, he said, gesturing to the bird, lives in harmony with impermanence, building nests that the wind may claim. The disciples marveled at the simplicity and depth of his teachings. A laywoman, carrying her infant, approached hesitantly. Master, she said, her voice tinged with desperation, my child grows with each passing day. How can I prepare him for life's sufferings? The Buddha looked at the infant, a picture of innocence and potential. Raise him, he said, in the light of compassion and mindfulness. Teach him that life, like the river, flows on. The woman nodded, her eyes reflecting newfound hope. Compassion, the Buddha added, is the bridge between self and others. Through it, we dissolve the illusion of separation. He turned to his disciples, his voice firm yet gentle. Remember this. Monks, the practice of meditation is not an escape but an engagement with life's reality. The wind rustled the leaves above, creating a symphony of nature's agreement. Each moment, he continued, is a teaching, a chance to awaken to the truth of interconnectedness. He gestured toward the sunlight filtering through the leaves. See how the light dances, touching all without discrimination? Be like the sunlight. A ripple of understanding passed through the gathering, as faces illuminated with clarity. The world, the Buddha said, is a vast web of causes and conditions. To know this is to know peace. The clay bowl, now still, reflected the sky above, a perfect mirror of tranquility. Your mind, the Buddha concluded, can become like this bowl, calm and clear, through the practice of meditation. As the disciples bowed, their hearts swelling with gratitude, the Buddha's words lingered in the air. Timeless and eternal, the sparrow took flight, disappearing into the azure sky, as the grove returned to its serene stillness. Another day, another journey. The Buddha walked along the sacred banks of the Ganges River, surrounded by devoted disciples. The sun cast its golden rays across the rippling waters, illuminating the eternal flow of life before them. The Buddha paused and spoke. Monks, behold this river, vast and ever-moving, yet constant in its course, teaching us life's impermanence. He gestured towards the shimmering currents, where drops of water merged seamlessly, indistinguishable from one another. This, he continued, is the nature of existence. Each drop contributes to the whole, transforming as it flows, embracing interconnectedness. A fisherman, hauling his net nearby, listened with curiosity to the Buddha's words. Captivated by his gentle demeanor, the Buddha turned towards him. Even as you fish, he said, you are part of this cycle, connected to all that is. The fisherman knelt respectfully, asking, Master, how does one live harmoniously with this eternal flow? The Buddha smiled and replied, harmony arises from accepting change and surrendering attachments. Just as the river embraces every drop and keeps moving. He bent down, cupped water in his hands, and let it seep through his fingers. See, he said, how the water does not resist. It merges, carrying with it no clinging or regret. An elder disciple asked, Master, how does aging teach us to flow like the river? The Buddha's eyes softened as he answered, aging erodes the attachments of youth, revealing wisdom to accept what cannot be controlled or preserved. The disciples reflected silently, watching the water glisten under the sun's embrace, feeling the weight and wonder of his words. A child playing near the banks approached hesitantly, clutching a handful of pebbles. Lord Buddha, he said, can the river stop flowing? The Buddha crouched to meet his gaze. The river never ceases, he said kindly, but its path may change as mountains rise and valleys form. The child nodded, tossing his pebbles into the water, which swallowed them without protest, continuing its endless course. Turning back to the disciples, the Buddha continued, meditation is the practice that aligns the mind with the river's wisdom, allowing us to move freely. He pointed to the whirlpools within the river, where currents tangled momentarily before finding their way again. Life's challenges, he explained, are like these whirlpools. They may stall the flow, but never halt it entirely. The disciples sat in thoughtful silence, their reflections merging with the river's timeless teachings. A scholar, traveling through the region, overheard the Buddha's words and joined the gathering respectfully. Master, he said, how do the lessons of the river apply to our intellect and understanding? The Buddha's gaze rested upon him. Steady and clear. Intellect, he said, like water, must flow freely, not stagnant or bound by rigid shores of ego and certainty. He picked up a handful of sand, letting it sift through his fingers. See how the grains disperse, adapting to the river's will without resistance. The scholar nodded, humbled by the simplicity and profundity of the Buddha's teachings. Through meditation, the Buddha continued, the mind transcends boundaries, allowing insight to flow unimpeded. Like the river meeting the ocean, a farmer, carrying a basket of wheat, paused to listen, his weathered face etched with toil and care. Lord Buddha, he asked, how do we nurture future generations in this ever-moving cycle? The Buddha's smile widened as he answered, just as the river nourishes the soil, so must your actions nurture the wisdom and kindness of those who follow. He gestured towards the wheat, golden and ripe, carrying the potential of sustenance and renewal. Through mindful living, he added, you become a tributary that nurtures and sustains others. The farmer bowed deeply, his heart filled with clarity and gratitude. As the Buddha's words sank into his soul, the disciples observed the farmer's humility, reminded of the interconnectedness that binds all beings. The Buddha resumed, monks, just as the river flows steadily, meditation helps us cultivate equanimity, the balance that transcends joy and sorrow. He lifted his gaze to the horizon, where the river's path disappeared into the vastness of the earth. A layman, carrying his aging father, arrived seeking solace from the Buddha's wisdom. Master, he said, my father fears the twilight of his years. How can I help him accept the inevitable? The Buddha approached them gently, placing a hand on the father's shoulder. Twilight, he said, is not an ending, but the culmination of a life's wisdom, illuminating those who follow. He gestured towards the merging of the river with the sea, where droplets found freedom in unity. Through meditation, he continued, you learn that aging is an ally, guiding you to let go and embrace simplicity. The elder man's eyes filled with understanding, the weight of fear easing as he absorbed the Buddha's words. The disciples watched in reverent silence, moved by the compassion and clarity of their master's teachings. The river, the Buddha concluded, flows not alone, but in union with countless tributaries. Embodying the essence of interconnectedness, he bent down, dipping his hands once more into the sacred waters, feeling its cool embrace, its endless wisdom. Let meditation, he said, be your guide, aligning your soul with the river's eternal flow. As the day turned to dusk, the disciples and villagers dispersed, their hearts brimming with enlightenment. The Ganges River shimmered under the fading sunlight, its flow unbroken, a timeless teacher of life's impermanence. Another day, another gathering. The Buddha sat amidst the tranquil forest, the leaves above whispering secrets of impermanence. Sunlight filtered through the canopy, painting the ground with shifting patches of gold, a living tapestry of life's fleeting nature. The Buddha began, his voice like the calm wind. Monks, this forest thrives because of impermanence, shedding old leaves to birth new life. He gestured toward a towering tree, its branches heavy with vibrant green and a few fading yellow leaves. Just as the tree does not mourn its falling leaves, he said, we must not cling to what changes. A young monk, seated cross-legged near the front, asked timidly, Master, why do we suffer when things change? The Buddha's gaze rested upon him, patient and understanding. Suffering arises, he said, because we cling to what is impermanent, fearing loss instead of accepting transformation. He picked up a fallen leaf, holding it gently between his fingers. This leaf, he continued, returns to the earth, nourishing the roots that will grow new leaves in time. The disciples listened intently, their breaths harmonized with the stillness of the forest, absorbing his words like parched soil drinking rain. An elder monk, his face lined with wisdom and age, asked, Master, how does meditation prepare us for life's inevitable decay? The Buddha turned to him, his eyes luminous with compassion. Meditation, he replied, teaches us to witness impermanence without fear, to see decay as part of life's sacred cycle. He placed the leaf at the base of the tree, his gesture as gentle as the autumn wind. A woodsman, carrying a bundle of firewood, paused to listen, drawn by the Buddha's serene presence and resonant teachings. Lord Buddha, he said, his voice rough with labor, my body ages with each day of toil. How can I find peace? The Buddha smiled warmly, extending his hand toward the woodsman. Your labor, he said, is like the tree's growth rings, each one bearing the story of endurance and contribution. He continued, meditation aligns us with this truth, allowing us to find peace within ourselves. Even amidst physical strain, the woodsman knelt, his bundle placed gently on the forest floor, his heart lighter with newfound understanding. A bird sang overhead, its melody weaving seamlessly with the Buddha's teachings. As if nature itself echoed his wisdom, monks, the Buddha resumed, addressing his disciples, aging is like the shifting seasons of this forest, each bringing lessons, challenges, and inevitable beauty. He pointed to a decaying log, its surface dotted with vibrant moss and sprouting new life. See how even decay, he said, creates the foundation for renewal, a constant dance of endings and beginnings. A young laywoman, carrying a basket of herbs, approached cautiously, her eyes filled with curiosity and reverence. Master, she asked, how can I teach my children to understand and accept this cycle of change? The Buddha's face softened as he answered, show them this forest, where every being supports another, and life flows uninterrupted despite individual change. He gestured to an ant trail weaving between roots, a silent testament to interconnectedness and collective purpose. Teach them, he continued, that life, like the forest, thrives not in isolation but through unity and shared existence. The young woman nodded, her heart swelling with gratitude as she bowed deeply, her basket cradled close. A hermit, long residing in the depths of the forest, emerged to join the gathering, his face weathered yet serene. Lord Buddha, he said, his voice carrying the weight of solitude, how does one find meaning in the fleeting nature of existence? The Buddha turned toward him, his gaze steady and profound. Meaning, he said, is not found in permanence, but in the act of fully embracing each moment, however brief. He plucked a tiny flower blooming near his feet, holding it delicately. This flower, he explained, blooms without attachment to its fate, offering beauty and fragrance without expectation. The disciples and onlookers sat in reverent silence, the forest itself seeming to pause in acknowledgement of his words. Through meditation, the Buddha continued, we learn to honor life's transience, finding joy in its impermanence instead of sorrow. A faint rustle in the leaves above revealed a squirrel, balancing nimbly as it searched for sustenance. Even the squirrel, the Buddha said, gesturing upward, lives in harmony with the forest's changes, adapting without resistance. His disciples smiled, the simplicity of his analogy striking a deep chord within their hearts. Ananda, seated close by, asked, Master, how can one maintain equanimity when faced with the suffering of others? The Buddha's expression grew thoughtful, his gaze soft yet piercing. Through compassion, he answered, which flows naturally from understanding our shared nature and interconnected destiny. He gestured toward a fallen branch, where fungi thrived, breaking it down to nourish the soil. Compassion, he said, is like this process, turning suffering into the nourishment of wisdom and growth for all beings. The disciples bowed, their heads, their hearts swelling with the weight and grace of his teachings. A trader, passing through the forest with a caravan, stopped to listen, his curiosity piqued by the gathering's peaceful aura. Lord Buddha, he said, his voice confident yet searching. How does one reconcile ambition with the transient nature of life? The Buddha's gaze rested upon him, unwavering and serene. Ambition, he said, must not be a chain binding the soul, but a bridge to greater understanding and service. He pointed to a sapling striving for sunlight, amidst towering trees. See how this sapling grows, he continued. Not out of greed, but the innate drive to contribute to the forest. The trader bowed, his mind alight with a new perspective, his ambitions tempered with wisdom and balance. The Buddha's teachings spread like ripples through the crowd, touching each soul uniquely, yet binding them in shared understanding. As the day began to fade, the Buddha spoke again, his voice carrying the quiet power of truth. Monks, he said, let the forest remind you of life's impermanence, its beauty rooted in constant transformation. He gestured to the horizon, where the setting sun bathed the landscape in hues of gold and crimson. Through meditation, he concluded, we learn to walk in harmony with life's cycles, accepting each moment as it is, and letting it pass. The disciples and onlookers bowed deeply, their hearts filled with reverence and clarity, the forest alive with the echo of his wisdom. As night fell, the gathering dispersed, their footsteps blending with the whispers of the forest, the Buddha's words eternal in their minds. The stars emerged above, distant yet luminous, a gentle reminder of life's transient yet interconnected beauty. Thank you for watching. Buddha's teachings are always with you. Subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Buddha's teachings are always with you. Subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next video.